everybody, welcome back, and thanks so much for checking out another episode of Totally Amazing Mushrooms. It's been kind of dry throughout the summer, and I didn't think there was going to be a lot out there. Believe it or not, there is stuff out there. So, come for a walk with me and see what we can find. You know, from a distance, you're going to see these orange ones, orange and yellow, and you might think, is that the sulfur shelf? Or Laetoporus sulphureus. But this one's actually, first off, this one's growing on a conifer and it looks like a hemlock. So, is it possibly Laetoporus conifericola? No, it's neither. This is Phaeolus schweinetzii, the dyer's polypore. Just as beautiful, not quite as edible though. These guys are not classified as edible. They're very woody, even though they have this very, very soft, fleshy, young growth. Now, I have done the taste test on this, on the trail side, and it should be bitter, but it's not, actually. Don't really know why that is, but nonetheless, this was not bitter. And you can see also with the Phaeolus, it's got this fuzzy, velvety top. Whereas the sulfur shelf is going to be fairly smooth all the way through it, just kind of like this one is here. The pore surface, as we can see here, hopefully, is quite beautiful. It's a polypore, as you can see, and we have some little fellas climbing in and around them, little pill bugs. Very wicked. And a lot of times these will grow in a rosette, but when they're coming off the side of the log they don't always, but this one's trying to right now. It's got a second shelf there, as it were, a different bracket. Oh, and it's so soft. I don't know if you can actually even see this, how soft that is. Beautiful. Alright, I know up the trail we have another one that's actually in a rosette on a conifer stump. So we're going to go check that out. And as promised, here is a Phaeolus schweinetzii rosette. Look at this beautiful, beautiful creature. Amazing colors. The dyer's polypore. And they'll get yellows to orange to brown. Different colored dyes out of them for dyeing textiles and fabrics. Very sought after for that. Again, not classified as edible because they are very woody. But you can see that it's got this velvety top again. Just this guy's starting to dry out, whereas those other ones were brand new, fresh, and very moist. Awesome. Alright, let's move on. Now I showed you that beautiful orange rosette of the Phaeolus schweinetzii. This is an old, last year's mushroom. And you can see it's all in the rosette. It's got the different shelves. And there's its beaten up spore surface. Pretty much degraded to nothing. Probably no spores left in it. It's probably released all the multi-millions of them. But yeah, I believe they can still actually get brown and orange dyes out of this, even when they're this old. But I believe that they're preferred to be much younger, like the ones we just showed. But yeah, so there's the life cycle of the Phaeolus schweinetzii. And then not very far from that old dead schweinetzii, we got a part of a Hymenoptera honeycomb here. Whether it was wasp or hornet, I do not know. But it must be this year's, because if it was last year's it would have dissolved into nothing. Because what they make this out of is they chew up wood and make a pulp out of it, and it turns into like paper. So, and you know what happens to paper when it gets wet. So this is probably fallen out of one of the trees that, you know, that they might have vacated at some point this year maybe. Maybe the wind knocked it down, who knows. Definitely hasn't been any rain to knock them down. But, oh hello beautiful girl. Hello. That's my girl. So these guys here are the veiled conch, Cryptoporus valvatus. And when you see these guys on a tree, you know that tree is done. And as you can see, not a green leaf or needle on this tree. So what's neat about these guys is crypto in Greek means covered or hidden. And this is what's the neat thing about these little polypores, is you can see that there's no pore surface, if I can get it to focus. So there's no pore surface, there's just this covering. And as you can see on the underside here. So what's really neat about this is this covering that they grow on the underside, the inside of this polypore, the spore surface is inside, underneath, inside this covering here. And when this covering is forming, there's always a little weak spot somewhere on the underside here, and it's so that beetles can get inside. It almost works out like a little flap for them. So they get inside and they'll chow down on the pore surface and the spores and whatnot, and then they'll leave and carry the spores with them to another spot. And there's a couple of different beetles. Quite often they're related to the pine beetle, but I don't know exactly what has been getting into these ones. But this guy, you can see where the little flappy spot is there, right there above my finger. And I'll find you one that they've actually gotten into. Those ones didn't seem to be infiltrated. Here we go. So this one has been infiltrated. You can see that this little covering here has been broken, or this is where maybe the weak spot was in the covering. So all the spores inside fall down on the inside of this, and like I said, when the beetle goes in and starts crawling around eating the spores and the polypore surface, then they get covered in the spores, they come back out this little hole and either go off to another tree or they go find themselves another polypore like these ones up here. And some of them get completely devoured. That one there, I don't know if you can see it in the shade, in the shadow there. It's kind of high up the tree, but so you can kind of see the pore surface under there, or what's left of it. And yeah, they look like little beehives almost. Very, very interesting. But yeah, most of them you're going to see little holes in them, and that'll be from an insect. Oh, there he is. Look. I saw him fly out of the other maple tree over yonder. And I didn't see where he landed, but here he is. This is the barred owl. Strix varia. Look at his feathers. All the stripes. Absolutely beautiful. I've been stalking this guy for days. I knew he was living in this forest. I think he's roosting in that maple tree, like I said, was just over yonder. But there he is. Absolutely beautiful. I think my favorite bird would be the owl. Hey fella. Wow. I am so stoked over this one. I honestly thought I was going to have to go up in the mountains to find it. And they're in the back 40 here on my property. This is the wild reishi, Ganoderma oregonense. And these guys look like they've been lacquered. They're so smooth, but not viscid, it's not wet. And this one's quite young, actually. It's kind of even, oh, it's even soft. So they don't normally eat these because they can be very woody unless they're very, very young. And this one's actually quite young. Now, the ancient Chinese would make this into an elixir, and they called it the elixir of immortality because they believed it had anti-aging properties and it was good for the soul and their all-around well-being. Well, they're not too far from the truth, really, because this can help your moods, it can reduce stress, and in turn, that can reduce your blood pressure. And another amazing thing about this beautiful fungi is it has triterpenes in it, which will inhibit the cancer cell growth, and also their invasive qualities that they have, bad qualities, as it were. And they also have polysaccharides in them, which aids in your immune system health. Now looking at this, you would actually think that it was a brown rot decayer. It is actually a white rot decayer. So it's going to leave behind that punky white cellulose material. So most of the time, the reishis are sessile, meaning they don't have a stipe, but sometimes they do, like this one. You can see it's kind of got a stipe sticking out the back there, a little knobby. And we're going to just take a look at the spore surface here, if we can get underneath. Look at that white spore surface. It's just an amazing, amazing looking mushroom. Now the spore surface will bruise brown, and the spores are actually a reddy brown color. And they're also, their cousin, or familia, is the Ganoderma applanatum, the artist conch, which we have highlighted on a couple of different amazing mushrooms. And this one is growing out of a big old Douglas fir that broke off, the top of it broke off years ago. Now, 90 years ago they logged this area, and I believe they left this monster of a tree to be a mother tree and to help reseed the area, and as you can tell, it kind of did its job. And I'm sure among other trees, that I'm sure they didn't just leave this one, but it was way before my time. But back to this beautiful little creature. Yes, so when they're young, you could probably eat them. They're kind of tough and woody. This one, like I say, is very young, and it's got quite the, it's quite soft and spongy, actually. It would probably be great. But usually they're made into teas. Now, with all things, too much of something is not necessarily good for you. You don't want to be taking this more than a month, because it can start to affect your liver functions. And we kind of need that. So, you know, it's just, as I say, like everything, everything's in moderation. And I'm going to actually leave this one. I was thinking about harvesting it, but it's the only one here. And I mean, if there was a, because sometimes they'll grow in shelves, so, because they are a bracket fungus and a polypore, and sometimes there'll be a couple of different ones growing out underneath it or above it. But this one's a solo. But just absolutely gorgeous. Look at this. I can see my face in the reflection. And then we have another white rot decayer. This is the pink sherbet, Leptoporus mollis. These guys are munching down on this log. Always, look at there's a bunch more down here too. They're pretty much inhabiting all over this log. Oh, look at them. Wow. Just absolutely amazing. Love these guys. Again, you know, you're not going to find that they're edible because they're kind of woody and whatnot. Now, whether or not there is any medicinal properties to them, it's very possible. A lot of the bracket funguses have different attributes to them that are very good for our health. And you can't turn around in the forest out in the Pacific Northwest without running into one of these beauties. This is the red-belted conch, Fomitopsis munciae. Look at the monster, eh? Look at this, is the size of my hand. Look at the spore surface. Beautiful. I know we've featured these several times, but they're beautiful. And they're everywhere out here. So, you know, why not highlight them? This one's just growing on another dead Doug fir, a little one this time, but it's all snapped off. Just amazing. All right, everybody, that was it. Short and sweet. But, you know, it's been kind of dry, so give us another month and the rains are coming and the mushrooms are going to be coming out. So we're going to be doing a whole bunch more of totally amazing mushrooms. But we do have a lot of other ones in mind too, so please stay tuned to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Until next time, my friends, take care now.